Hi, Emmanuel. I'm on video straight away. Okay. Good reaction.
Mantinaes, Mr. Mantinaes.
Yep. Who is he go? Did he say that?
Mr. Mantinaes.
Who do you say?
Mr. Mantinaes.
Well, easy to say, isn't it? What's it like as a teacher?
Pretty good.
Pretty good? What's good about it?
He's really fun to work with,
Yeah?
and he's pretty funny as well.
It's funny too, isn't it?
Yeah, very sporty, into his soccer.
And what do you think? From a woman's perspective.
He teaches well, he understands what he has to say. He's nice, funny. Yeah.
And what's the school like?
It's pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah, lots of facilities.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, how's his Greek?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Tells us lots of stories.
What's your favourite?
The Pythagoras theory. What are your books?
What's yours?
I'm not sure.
Sure.
Down here.
Any other funny stories?
Well, there's so many to choose from. You already can.
So I'm sure Tara and Fine will have been nicely. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to move with this stuff or? Okay, might as well move it. Know the rules. You know the class rules, so don't, test it out, mate. Okay, can I have your attention, please? Matt, can I have everybody's attention? Tara? Okay, first I'd like to introduce Emmanuel Stefano, okay, who's come to video, okay, because of, he wants to videotape youth, Greek youth, okay, who have succeeded and have gone to different fields, okay, to show this with, at the Hellenic Club and to show the Australian Greek community, okay. Now, so welcome, Emmanuel. Can you? Sort of a lesson on Pythagoras, okay. Now, Andrew, Pythagoras, and we've already looked and sort of studied Pythagoras, okay, although some of the class who's joined us haven't. Now, Pythagoras was born between 572 to 495 BC. So how old does that make him? How old or how long did he live for? 77? How do you know? I told you before, did I? Okay, well, he lived for 77 years because it works backwards before Christ. Now, if you imagine, okay, you've got a timeline and you can just imagine that's 0 and it goes until where we are now, 2001. Okay, if we go into the minuses, okay, and just imagine that's 495. Okay, and we go further back, that would be 572. Okay, so if you just look at it, okay, and you add 5 to that, you'll get 500, plus another 72. He lived for 77 years. Okay, but how long ago was that? Have a look. We're in 2001. Matt?
I don't know.
Think about it.
I know. 2000. I know. I don't know 2000.
Well, roughly, approximately, how much?
2600.
Well, around 2,500 years ago.
It's a long time.
It's a very, very long time, and like I've said before, being of Greek origin, Pythagoras was related to me. Now, you might not believe this, but he lived a long, long time ago, and he was actually related, and he's passed this cup down to me. And it's called the Pythagoras Kupa, which means in Greek, Kupa means cup. Okay, and he was born on the island of Samos. Okay, and they've actually named sort of the port, the main port on Samos, called Pythagoras, after Pythagoras, of course. Okay, it took them a long time to name it. Okay, they just recently named it. But finally, sort of, because it was a very, very important person, have named it Pythagoras. Now, how many generations ago was that? So he was my great, 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 great grandfather. How many times do you think?
100?
Well, what do you say, 100? What's the generation gap? About 25, okay? So the generation gap's about 25. There's 2,500 years divided by 25 is 100. So he's passed this down, and he passed it down to his grandchildren who were going to go on and do education. And he actually studied the right angle triangle, and we've looked at that already. And he believed in the square of the hypotenuse equals the square of the sides, okay, of the 3 to 4 to 5 ratio triangle. But I don't want to look at that today. What I want to look at is this cup, why it's so important, okay? What used to happen with the cup, because he was an educator and he was also a philosopher who believed in, was interested in politics and religion, he came up with this cup. Because what happens, he used to sit under an olive tree and drink a little bit of wine with his students. Okay, just a little bit, not too much, because then numbers became different kind of things. So what would happen is some of the students like you would try and cheat him and have a little bit more wine and a little bit more, and then he couldn't run his class. So he came up with this special cup. And this cup, if you have a look at it, Manuel, you might want to come and have a look, a closer look. It's got a special line that just goes around it, and you can actually buy it in Summers, okay? And so he used to fill this cup up and said to the students, you can only fill this cup up to the line, no more than that. So he would do that. So just imagine this is a little bit of wine. Geez, we're getting very close up here, aren't we? Very close up and personal. So now if you have a good look at it, okay, the water's being held, but underneath there's a hole, okay? Now, how do you know I'm related to Pythagoras? Pretty easy. I'll explain. Now, if my nose touches this point, that's how you know you're relative to Pythagoras. You see it? I'm related. Now, not anyone could touch the nose. I'm sure you couldn't. Now, what happens, for example, if a student decided, like a sim, okay, because he doesn't know anything about this cup, and this is real. He doesn't know anything about it. What do you think might happen, Asim, if you decided to put more water above the line? Would all the water come out?
I have no idea.
Or would just the water above the line come out?
Just the water above the line.
Or would no water come out?
I don't know.
There's 3 options there. Think about it. What do you think? Let's try it? Okay, come up here, Sim. I want you, and we'll just run it slowly. We'll do it quickly. I want you to do it real quick. Fill it up right to the top. Okay, move it away. Just there, on the sink. Okay. Okay, now we're not going to tell the class what happens, just... Okay, what happened, Sim?
All the water came out.
All the water came out. Excellent. Okay, there's a little bit left because this is not the real good cup. Okay, the real good cup is in a museum. So all the water came out. Okay, so if a student decided to cheat Pythagoras or drink a little bit more wine, they would lose a whole lot. Or they would have to get their hands underneath, but they would get dirty. Okay, and he would know about it. So he came up with this, and this is one thing that he came up with. Okay, that was very, very important. Why? How does it work? Now think about it. This person, okay, who was the founder of Greek mathematics, okay, Pythagoras, came up with this 2,500 years ago. Think about it. No computers, okay, no calculators. Okay, what was he using?
A brain.
Okay, a brain. And he was a good thinker. Okay, and he was able to discuss things with people, and he came up with this. How? How does it work? It's very, very simple. And there's a good reason, Matt.
In the cup, there's if it goes over the line, there's like a certain amount of pressure, And if it gets over that pressure, it comes out?
It's got something to do with pressure, but let's look at the cup. Okay, we have a look at the cup. It's got this little piece. Now I'll just draw it inside. It sort of looks like this. This is a cross section of the cup. Okay, and that's the hole that goes down to the base, and there's the base. Okay, that's the hole that you can see underneath here, just there. Okay, now the line, we'll just draw a little line there. Okay, and then you've got this cover that comes up to about the line, and that's that particular thing in the middle. Okay, it's just about level with the line. Now, just in here, that extends up all the way up to about the line. Now, I want to see who's a thinker. Ashley, your hand's up. Explain.
Is there a hole at the top so you can go past the line or the line?
Okay, let's just draw what you're trying to say. Okay, H2O, which is water, goes right up to about there. That's what's happening before the water came out. Exactly that. I put water in it, it's right above the line, and inside here you can see, and I'll just show you, you can see there's little holes that lead into that tube. See that? See that, Emmanuel? Have you ever seen the Pythagoras cup? No. But a lot of some yachters have. They know all about it. Okay. See the little hole just there? Yeah. Okay, and that's where the water, that excess water goes right up to the line. Okay, and inside.
Interesting.
Okay, very interesting. Thanks, Matt. So, you see that? See, so when you fill the water, it goes actually into those channels, into those holes just there. Pamela? I'm moving a bit too quick. Okay, so now, what happens now if we put more water in? So I'm just going to draw the water differently, going up that way. Okay, so basically also, if water is filled up to the top, what happens?
It goes up, and then the top bit of water inside that little bit.
So just in there, that also moves up the level.
That'll drain out, and it'll just act like a siphon the water.
Exactly, exactly. But what's in here, did you say?
Water. Nothing.
Air. Not nothing, air.
And then when it pushes out, it's like a siphon.
And it's all to do with pressure, okay? And it creates a vacuum, and as soon as the water reaches that level, basically just sucks it out, and the whole lot comes out. It's a bit like if you're trying to siphon some petrol out of your petrol tank, and you just pump air into it, okay? And then the whole lot comes out. Not just a little bit, the whole lot. It's to do with pressure and vacuum. Okay, basically just sucks it up. It's like if you get a straw, okay, and what do? If you've got a milkshake, exactly. And that's what happens. That pressure is caused like that because of the excess water, and it just sucks it out. Okay, and we can do many more different experiments. Okay, for example, if I boiled an egg and peeled the egg, okay, and put it into a flask or a bottle, like an old milk bottle, okay, if I got a piece of paper, I lit it up, and we haven't done this, and we'll do this later on in the year, put a burning piece of paper into a bottle, a glass bottle, put an egg on top, what happens? You've seen it probably on TV, Matt?
The egg falls through.
The egg falls through, but why?
Pressure, suction. Pressure, suction.
Exactly, because what happens is the air inside, okay, the oxygen is being used up by the fire, there's no more oxygen, okay, so we've created a vacuum, and it just sucks it in like a vacuum cleaner. Okay? And then the problem is, how do we get it out?
Same way.
Well, we're going to do that later on. So, Pythagoras, okay, was born 2,500 years ago. He was the founder, okay, of Greek mathematics. He was born where? On the island of Samos. Okay, he was my
Great, 100 times.
100 times grandfather, okay? And he was involved with working out about a right-angled triangle that we use today. Carpenters use it all the time. Builders use it all the time. To make a square, they use Pythagoras' theorem. People who do paving, okay, use Pythagoras' theorem all the time. They don't use a calculator. They get a string, place a string across, form a right-angled triangle, okay, and they're able to work out whether that line is straight or not by using Pythagoras. And some of them don't even realise they're using Pythagoras' theorem, but it's used in everyday life. He also believed that numbers were the essence of all things, and that numbers were the language of nature and the universe. That was one of the most important things. He also came up with that music notes had a numerical value. And for example, if you got a string and you tighten up as hard, as tight as you can, okay, it makes a certain sound. But then if you halve that, okay, it still makes that similar sound, but it's harmonious, it's sort of halved. Okay, so he was able to find out that back then, 2.5 years ago, that music had numerical value. Okay, so what about the cup? What do you think? Okay, it's green. What else? What do you think about it? I mean, what do you think about this person who's, lived 2,500 years ago and came up with something simple like this, Matt?
He's a clever bloke.
Yeah, it was pretty clever.
How do you make it?
Well, I mean, pottery was around then.
Yeah, but how do they make it like that?
Well, he would have just experimented, somehow came up with an idea. Oh, I'll try that. See if it works. Didn't sort of work, maybe try something else. Yes, Pamela? This one I bought in Summers, okay, when I travelled overseas last year with my wife. Really? Yep, really. I shouldn't lie to class, but really, okay. I had the pleasure to go there, and it's a really good island. If you get the chance to go, go. It's got a lot of history. And they basically sell it in every pottery store, okay, for about $5, and they sell them at churches, okay. And basically, it's I think it's just fantastic. I mean, every time I teach this, the Pythagoras Kupa, okay, all students are really involved and intrigued by it, okay. And I throw a little story in between to make it a little bit more interesting, and that's that's pretty important. So, any questions? No? No questions at all? No. Okay.
How old was he when he invented the cup?
I'm not sure. I really don't know that answer. He could have been, 40, 30, 40. He travelled a lot. I know he travelled a lot between Egypt and around that area. Ashley?
Why did he make the cup so they won't drink much wine?
Well, that's the story. The story is that he used to take his class under an olive tree. Okay, and they would sit there, and because he was a philosopher, I mean, he would teach, and he was an educator, and he actually even opened his own school. Okay, wait, mate. He would sit under a tree with his students, and and go through different mathematical things, or talk about religion, or talk about politics. And from there, I mean, they would drink a little bit of wine, and I think what he noticed was that his wine was disappearing, and that's what they say.
Didn't they just refill it every time?
Well, I mean, I suppose maybe wine was a little bit, expensive in those days, and he decided, well, or maybe he was just trying to play a trick on them too. Do something funny that if they did go, maybe he just said, look, don't go above that line. And if you say to students, don't do that, what do?
They do it.
They do it. So it's as simple as that. He would have said, look, don't do that, and he might have played a game with them. So, one student in every class will try it, or maybe two. Yep.
You know how he said he travelled through Egypt and stuff? Do you reckon he would have had anything to do with the pyramids?
Interesting question. I don't think so. That was a different time. Okay, all right. Well, Emmanuel, you have to pack up now. Okay, it's time to go. So, thank you, for being good today. Excellent.
Thank you, ladies.
You can put your chairs underneath, and I'll see you tomorrow. And don't forget, presentations are due tomorrow. Your assignment presentations on the human body. Yeah. Well, you better do an all-nighter, Pamela. It's due tomorrow. Put chairs underneath, please. Love it. It's great. Yeah, the kids' reactions, they're so good. You see them grow up. Like, for example, Bilal. I've taught Bilal, this is Bilal at Harmy. I've taught his
Generations.
I've taught his brother, Nabil. I've taught his two twin brothers, Hani and Hassan, and also Nadal. Okay, because I went from Corwell to Lanyon, and now I actually taught those three at Corwell, and now I've taught Nadal, and Bilal's the youngest here. So it's pretty amazing. I mean, and I've been invited to their family dues, for example, their 21st, and they've come to my wedding. So, you know, like over the years, you do build a relationship with, you know, with your students. So it's pretty interesting. You know, and you know, soccer kids, these are my soccer players, so it's just, our school life is just an interesting life. It's not just classroom, it's, you know, like, it goes beyond the class. Yes, girls?
We just want to know how to make that diagram thing, because we're doing the respiration thing.
Which diagram thing?
The one with the bottle and the balloon.
Oh, okay, well, you need to come later. You need to get a plastic bottle. Okay, I'll show you just quickly. So I'll just quickly show them. Just follow me. This is, see if I can find it. Penny. No, she's not here. This is the lab assistant's office. This is where all the experiments are, the science practice, all the resources, our calculators. Okay, girls, this is what you've got to do. Okay, now it's a bit broken. You can get a plastic bottle. Okay, you've got your straw, you've got a balloon, you've got to make sure it's airtight inside. Okay, and then you just put another balloon on the outside, stick your tape in there tight, and if you pull on it, okay, what happens? Okay, air goes in, okay, and then this acts as a diaphragm. Okay, when you release it, air goes out. It's exactly represents your lungs.
We're doing it for our presentation.
Well, if worst gets to worst, try and make one, but we've got one here too, okay? Bye-bye. So
is he really your great-grandfather?
No, but they do believe it or not. I've said that story since I went, I think 2 years ago we went to Greece, and I've brought the cup back, and I mean, Samiotis, for example, they would know about the Pythagoras cup, right? Or kupa. But you know, bringing it to class, it's just taken in a whole different dimension when I'm teaching Pythagoras' theorem. I mean, I try and make it as practical as possible and interesting as possible. And the kids really, you know, love it. They've got some connection, for example, with, I've taught a lot, but they've got some connection with Pythagoras when you teach it this way.
If you were Greek, would you teach it this way?
Well, I wouldn't have been exposed to it. I probably wouldn't have gone to Samos. No, I would have to say no, I wouldn't, because I actually pass this on to other teachers who teach Pythagoras and actually go into their classes and demonstrate it. So, and you know, and I'll make up that story. So the kids all know that, you know, my parents are Greek and, you know, I'm from an Australian Greek background, and so they just somehow relate to it, and somehow, you know, some of them believe it, some of them don't, but they really just get on with it. Yeah, it's great.
What part of Greece are you from, or your parents from?
Well, both my parents are from Karpathos, from a village called Piles. So,
Where were you born?
I was born in Australia, Canberra.
So Canberra born.
Canberra born, yeah.
How long ago?
Well, 36 years ago. I was born in 1965.
1965. Did you know that you were going to be a teacher?
No, I never knew that.
How did that happen?
I think I was pretty, you know, I was a pretty good student, like in the respect that, you know, I got on with my work and got pretty good marks. I wouldn't say I worked extremely hard to get those marks. I could have worked harder, but I would say my parents, especially my dad, was the key. I mean, because, you know, he had a business, and, you know, he had a few businesses, and I think he wanted his children to sort of do something different and not do the same that he did, although there was nothing wrong with that. But I think he wanted sort of to educate us, basically. And he basically not pushed me, but guided me, you know, and sort of gave me encouragement. And, you know, I went to university, and, you know, there's a lot of hurdles, you know, during, you know, university, being young, and a lot of distractions. And I suppose that was probably the best time, you know, of my life, you know, and, you know, and actually my parents were overseas at that particular time too. They were actually living in Karpathos with my brother and sister. So I was living here on my own for a couple of years, and I think that really made me grow up and become responsible. But definitely my dad played a major part in sort of seeing me through. And then, you know, as time went by, I mean, at first I just picked teaching just for holidays, you know, college student. Oh yeah, what would I do? And somehow I just, you had to choose something to go to university, and something drew me there. I don't know what it was, but it was just definitely something. When I went down the list, I picked secondary teaching and I picked primary, so I definitely like teaching. And yeah, that was really the turning. And then ever since, I've never looked back. I mean, it's a job that's interesting, and it's different every single day, from an athletics carnival to a swimming carnival to excursions to, ski trips to soccer competitions to just the classroom. And like I said before, with students, you build a relationship with the parents and the students. A lifetime relationship with a lot of them. Not all of them, but definitely there's a few that you build a very, very strong relationship. It just happens.
Why does that happen with some and not the others?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's a connection. Different needs. Maybe the students. There's some students who might look up to you, and like for example, those particular students, I've had a lot to do with soccer, training. The brothers, and then it just the way it fell out. I played soccer with them. When I was 30, they were sort of 18. We actually played in the same soccer team, so that was a pretty unbelievable experience to play soccer with students that you taught from year 7. So and just one thing leads to another. So you just become friends, and they invite you, you invite them, and yeah, teacher. So I decided to take 10, and this other teacher took 10, and half of them didn't see the Pythagoras Cup. So it was quite interesting today to see their reaction. So half of them actually didn't know, it wasn't even fixed. So it was good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you decided on teaching. Your dad pushed you into it?
No, it didn't push me into it, guided me into it.
How did he guide you?
Well, I mean, because, being, Greek and, working, started working pretty young, 14. Worked at places like, different takeaways. I worked at my dad's shop when I was really young. I worked at, Cold Seas. I worked many places. And, I used to sit and have a talk to my dad, and, we would talk about it. And he would say, look, and I got accepted into college, and he always, supported me. For example, if I needed help, he'd get me a tutor, So, little things like that, when there was hurdles, he would come up with a solution, and I had a very honest relationship, with my family. So, and, even growing up, spending a lot of time playing soccer with my parents, my parents would come and watch me, especially Dad. Yeah, we just built a good relationship, and he basically just encouraged me. And because, all Greek parents really, came from the islands or came from Greece, wanted something better for their for their kids, and basically, education was the way. And I think because they worked pretty hard, 7 days a week, they, coming to a new country, they wanted to, do something different, not just go back one step, just move forward.
Okay, that's good. What did you learn from your dad?
I learned a lot, and I'm still learning. I still go and ask him things, so it's pretty amazing. I learned to be patient. I learned to be honest, and I learned that there's no easy way. That you always got to take one step at a time. If you have to cover a long distance, it always starts with one step. I think, basically I've learnt a lot, from religion to the Greek language to being exposed and to be given the opportunities that I have. It's all due to, my family. And, and even the wider Greek community. For what they have, because I've been involved with the Greek community, just what's been established. Sometimes I think about these things and I think, it's pretty amazing that, our parents came over not knowing the language and have been able to build, Greek schools and churches and build a Greek community that's growing and, and it's thriving.
Were you involved in the Greek schools and the church?
I've only been involved recently with the Carpathian Progressive Association. My dad was involved in that for many years, and somehow, you know, I suppose when I was younger, I wasn't interested in it at all. You know, I went to the functions and all those things, but I wasn't interested in going to the committee because of, you know, different interests. I was playing soccer and completely different things. But now, I mean, somehow I've been, you know, it's sort of at the point where, you know, it's there and we've got to keep it alive. And, you know, there's not a lot of people interested like in the old days. There was a lot of people, you know. You would have a committee of 11, where now the committee, you know, is 7, and it could even get to 5 later on in the future. So basically, I mean, I've been involved in that way with the Greek community when they have meetings. So I've been able to sort of find out what's going on with the Greek community and, you know, like do things like the Glendy Day and how everyone supports it with the associations, and just, you know, with the Olympic Memorial and now with the school that's, the hall that's going ahead with that. There's a lot of different things.
Why do they call it the Carpathian Progressive?
Well, Carpathian is because of the island, and progressive, I suppose, because we like to look to the future. And, you know, and because it's an association. And, I mean, it was one of the first associations after the Greek community around that time to be established. And it's, you know, it's just amazes me, like back in those days, how, you know, people who came from Greece wrote a constitution, you know, that really was pretty watertight, you know, locked in, and that, you know, and sort of saw the future, you know, with what might happen, and, you know, had all those little articles. So yeah, no, it's good. And I mean, really, I mean, the way I've looked at the association is I'm looking at, with my committee, family and youth. That's what we're concentrating on. I mean, you know, sure, we'll have a dance, you know, a fundraising dance or an annual dance, but definitely we focus on looking at, you know, the family having Christmas parties for the kids that are free every year, and we also look at a barbecue every year to get everyone together, which is also free for our members, you know, and friends are welcome. With, you know, we have a fishing trip, you know, a tournament, which is a bit fun. So really, I mean, overall, in the year, we have a few events that basically bring people together because everyone's pretty busy during the year, and that's really what it's all about. Just getting together and being part of the Greek community and integrating with the Greek community.
Well, does it have a future? Is it separate?
I think it definitely has a future because, you know, like, you know, we just need to keep that part of that heritage alive. And it's just like the same question that you asked, you know, has the Greek community got a future? And it's the same thing.
Has it got a future?
Of course, with religion, you know, with the church, and with education, with the schools. Of course we have a future, if we hold on to it, if everyone believes in it, yeah. I mean, that's why, I mean, our parents, and I know, you know, my father was involved in a lot with those different things. That's why our grandparents who came here built this, because they saw the future, that there was good life in Australia and that we could live here and we could live as Australian Greeks.
You classify yourself as an Australian Greek?
Yeah.
Not a Greek Greek?
Well,
Not a true Greek?
Well, yeah, true Greek, and I love Greece, but the question is, you know, like, you know, so many Greeks are here, how come they've never gone back to live for good?
How come?
Because Australia's a good country, it's got a lot of opportunity. And you can always go back and visit it too. And Greece is a good country too, and I mean, every time I've gone back to Greece, and I've been 5 times, I've loved it. You know, and I've spent time there, I've been a year there, I've been 6 months there. It's been great.
Can we go back to progressive, why they put progressive into the name, because I think it says a lot. Why didn't they go Carpathian society and hold on to old things rather than look to the future?
I mean, I wasn't there at that time, okay, so let's state that. And I've never really, I mean, I've always actually looked at the name and thought, yeah, progressive, you know, it is different to the other ones, but I mean, I don't think I think, you know, they might have looked at sort of like we are going to progress in different ways.
But they honoured it by putting it right in the name. So they're forcing, the original committee people were forcing the future committee people to say,
Well, I think that all people, like all the Greek community that organised associations, were really good thinkers. I mean, our generation's good, and I think, we're great. We've done a lot of things, we've been educated, and a lot of us have gone to different fields. But I also think, coming from leaving your parents and coming to Australia, to a completely different country, not knowing the language, and then being able to build something. But then they had the need to do that too. They had the need to build because they were missing all that culture from Greece. So the name, I think, the name basically is just, they came up with progressive, and I think they probably look to the future. That's how I perceive it. I don't think, really we can look into that name a lot, I think it just stands out and just says it,
well, I think you can actually, because it's the only one with progressive in the name.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And in those times they were looking backwards, trying to keep what they had alive. But here this group is saying, we want to bring it in and progress it, develop it.
I suppose, yeah. What they wanted to do was just set up, get together like all the other associations and just build a future for, I suppose back in those days, for the Carpathian kids, definitely. And they wanted to progress. That's the way I think they would have looked at it. But, things have changed since then. So, what was the question?
You were a Carpathian kid?
Both my parents were, yeah. But then my wife, is half Cyprian and half Mytilenean, or from Lesbos.
So you got that connection with two other islands?
Yeah, it's great. I've travelled to all parts of Greece, like all the different islands, and I can tell you, they're all great.
And do your kids go with you too? You've got kids?
I've got one on the way. One in December. Early December. So
what do you want for that child?
I think I'll give Helen and I will give the child every opportunity and to succeed where they want to succeed, and and expose them to Greece, expose them to the culture, and I think they can make their decisions with a bit of guidance, of course. That Greek is still in me, you see.
Will you be like your father?
Oh, definitely. I think you've got to be like a father. The next transition in my life really now is sort of to concentrate on family. That's, we're building a family, Helen and I, and we're looking to the future. And we're looking, to just to enjoy family. For me, that's the most important thing. You look around, things that are happening, with the bombings and all that kind of stuff, and right now, my goal now for the future is to concentrate on family, my wife, my kid, and, and my work. And that's the main focus. But definitely, always the family will be number one.
To the future generation, what's the one lesson that you've learned that you'd like to pass on?
I think the most important thing in life is you need to listen, and at the same time you need to be patient, and you need to be able to treat people with equal respect. Whether you get on with them or you don't. You need to be as fair as possible, because really you need people at all times. And you need to be fair with people and build good relations and build good bridges, because that's the way I think everything is. You need to build bridges and to look at people as humans and just move along and just keep building bridges and communicate with people. And I think that's the most thing, and most of all, to be honest, underlined.
Did you slip off the rails at any stage and then learn something from that?
I don't know, slip off the rails. I would say I went fast on the track, but not slip off the rails. I suppose, you make mistakes. You definitely make mistakes. There's been a lot.
Anything that you had to share with the up-and-coming people?
When I was younger, I mean, like, just, I used to just enjoy life and go out and, enjoy the fast cars and everything that came along with it. So, I mean, and, there was, basically I really, really enjoyed my youth and made sure that I enjoyed it. And, like any mistake that I did, I sort of picked up and learned from it. I mean, I can't think of right now I just can't think of a real particular incident that pins that I could talk about. But, like, I mean, just like being a young person, you do different things and, you move on.
You got a role model?
I would say that my role model is my dad.
Your dad? Any other role models over the years?
I think my dad really, like, I respect my father, and he's a well-respected person in the Greek community, and, like, he's pretty wise, very wise actually, and I would say that, I base a lot of my thinking and my judgments, on my dad, I would say.
Who had the whip in the family?
Who had the one?
The whip.
What do you mean the whip?
The whip. Who used the whip in your family?
The like the ruler,
Yeah.
and the spoon and all those kind of little things. My dad.
Your dad?
Yeah, definitely. He was the one who was fair but firm.
Did you have to use it much?
A little bit. I mean, like those times I would come home late and not listen, and and go off and do a lot of different things. Yeah. No, yeah.
I'm trying to get you to laugh.
Who, me? I can laugh.
You missed that one too.
I'm just trying to think about incidents.
So class, we go forward here in a second.
Oh, sorry. We can move to lab 3 if we have to.
It's like the action. So,
I mean, a lot of things. I mean, I probably remember one time that we snuck down the coast, like, and we didn't say anything to anyone. And we borrowed a car, like we went with my friend's car, we went 2 cars down and we went down the coast and we snuck down there, thinking nothing, we won't get caught. And what do? We hit a wallaroo or kangaroo. It was a wallaroo actually. And the fan went into the radiator and we're going, oh my God, how are we going to go? There's 9 guys, right? 2 cars, how are we going to get back, So, a few of us sort of had a vote, and it was a bit rigged, okay? So there was a few of us, Frank Kochinos and Nick, and anyway. And one of the guys, Frank's brother, was in hospital because he had an operation on his leg. And we had his car, and his car's the one that got hit. So we just sort of, how are we going to get back, I'm worried about because I was worried about my dad. I knew that if I don't get home, I'm dead, So it was late in the morning, how are we going to get home? So we voted and we went all back in the other car and we had to leave that car. So we went back and there's my dad waiting, up in the morning, how are we going to, and he was just waiting. And I had to lie, So, I had to say that we ran over a dog in Woden and that's why we were late, but he didn't believe it. And then I was basically grounded. I thought, how are we going to get, how are we going to get back to fix up the car and pick up the rest of the guys? It's a dilemma. So as soon as Dad went to work, bang, we went and bought the radiator, bang, we took the tools, flew down to Bateman's Bay, fixed the radiator, bypassed the cooling system for the gearbox, got it together, got the other people, and took them back just before my dad got back from home. So, and it was only about like 6 hours, so that was interesting. So, I mean, they're little things. I mean,
you didn't get kept caught.
I mean, yeah, oh, definitely, yeah. In the end, I mean, my dad knew, that was a lesson that, and then from there, I think, I think my dad sort of got it out of me and he found out he always had little birds, whispering, I don't know, and never really revealed his source. But, he found out. So, yeah, there's a lot. I mean,
So you hang out with a lot of Greek boys?
Yeah, a lot. Oh, not really, because I went to university. I also hanged out with a lot of different people at university, in the education tutes, and playing soccer. I played soccer for Olympic for at least 20 years. So, you know, all the different boys there. I know I've got a sort of diverse range of friends.
And how did growing up with a name like you've got?
I think in high school, you know, like, you know, it would have been a little bit of teasing, but not much, really. I mean, I sort of got on with everyone, played soccer. I think it was more in college when sort of like all the high schools, like all your cousins all of a sudden came together in a college, like Watson High, you know, which is closed now, Lanyon High, Canberran High, all of a sudden all these kids who used to hang out on weekends were together. And, you know, we really used to sort of, college were like really, like it was pretty full on in those days, yeah. But now it's sort of like, you know, teaching now, like all the cultures are really, really accepted. It's only when, like this big issue in America, which is a huge issue, sort of, you know, kids talk about in class and sort of, you know, you can feel a little bit of it coming back, you know, if you want to talk about the racism, you know. But otherwise, without those things occurring in the world, you know, it's really blending. You know, like, you know, everyone's pretty accepting. Where back, you know, 20 years ago, it was a little bit different, where I think now Greeks and Italians are really accepted as Australian, with their culture and their background too. Because, I mean...
Do they accept
definitely.
migrants?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, look, I mean, the working, you know, and the positions that we all hold within the community, you know, like just within teaching, you know, they all want to know about, you know, the Greek culture. You know, I make them Greek coffee sometimes, got my little gazani there. You know, my mum makes sweets, I bring it in all the time, and they just can't get enough. And, you know, whenever you talk about, especially like Greece and about the Greek islands, everyone wants to sort of listen and, you know, in the Australian community. That's what I've noticed.
And what do you call here?
What's that?
What do they call you here?
Oh, Mr. Mantinaes or Mr. M. Well, they even call me Johnny sometimes, you know, the ones who, you know, because I used to do a bit of student management, so I used to be pretty hard on the kids. But yeah, I get on with them, yeah, and that's good.
They don't call you John the Greek.
Oh, I get that too. Because, yeah.
Just trying to get that out here. So the migrants that came here that are now accepted, do they accept the new migrants that are coming through?
I think so. I think there is a little bit of, you know, conflict with, you know, like maybe with the Asian generation. All right, we better go.
Do you have a problem with that?
We'll go next door. No, I don't. No.
Well, you're right on the front line, aren't you? Leave it on. You're on the
Front-
front line, aren't you?
Front line, what do you mean?
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, it's about to walk in the door.
Yep.
From all these different nationalities.
No, that's right, exactly. I mean, yeah. These,
See, isn't it?
yep. Yeah. I deal with all these kids all the time, so. This is Miss Warboys, and this is her class, and we'll have to leave her now because she needs to start a class. But they're all pretty happy. They're like, yep, I'll get that back. Mr. Satchel, can you get the camera? And just, I'll get the bag. Just be careful with the camera. Hey? Yeah, we'll have to try and find out who did it. Bring the camera here, mate. Excuse me. Sit down. Take your caps off. Now, is this how you behave? I know you want to be on camera, but this is not how we behave. And away from the benches. Let's go. Now. Sitting down. Away from the benches, please. I'll tell you now, if you're all quiet, I can tell you. Okay, I'm basically, listen up, caps off. Excuse me, just sit down. Hurry up. Okay, these are year 7s, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. What, green? Is it a green class?
Yes.
Okay, basically I'm getting videotaped for the Hellenic Club, okay, because they're sort of interviewing like 40 youth, Australian Greeks, who have gone to different fields within Canberra, like, you know, different fields, like, for example, I've gone to teaching and other people have gone to different fields. So they're basically trying to catch up, and then maybe later on in 20 years they might do another catch-up video.
Where do you want these?
Follow me.
So
It's all boys. My passion.
Yeah, your passion.
Teaching, I would say. Teaching is one of my passions.
What's your
Teaching, tennis, soccer, and my next passion that's going to really take over my life is my newborn baby in December. That's going to be the passion.
How did you discover your passion?
These are hard questions while we're trying to find a classroom. Penny? This is Emmanuel. Okay, all right, just put the camera here, mate. Thank you very much. Have I taught you?
No.
No, but I've taught his brother. Okay, Brendan, he's a twin. I didn't know he was a twin, but I found out. Where did we find out?
On the bus trip to the snow.
Did we have a good time?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so we went skiing, we had a laugh on the bus, he gave me a few lollies. We became sort of like, friends. I mean, he knows that if he's in trouble, he can come and see me. True?
Yep.
He knows it. And I know his mum, and being here a few years at Lanyon High, for example, you build that relationship with students, and who knows, I might even know you later on in life, eh?
Yeah.
Hey?
Later.
A good kid. So,
It's like it.
good. Yeah, it's a good school. I mean, it's like any other school, really.
Well, you hear negative things about schools, is it true?
I mean, negative things, I think there's more positives than negatives, and people just dwell on the negatives. And I think that's the problem, because there's a lot of good things that go on in schools. Like, there's so many. I mean, just like now talking to the student and in the classroom, and, the ski trips, there's, so many facets of things that happen within a school life. And there's camps, there's, just the everyday communication with students, like in the playground. I mean, the question is, how many kids do I know? I mean, that's the question, really.
How many do you know?
A lot. I've been teaching for 10 years, and, and I get to know a lot of the students, not just, my class. I actually would get to know, like a very big percentage of the school population. I mean, and now it's sort of like I bump into them, like in the workforce. I mean, how you said about negatives. I mean, kids find out, for example, my wife's pregnant, and the connection, because my wife teaches at Erindale College, and a lot of the students go on to Erindale. When they put one and one together, they're going to leave one Mantinaes and go to the next. They're all positive, and when they find out, like they don't even know my wife, and they find out she's pregnant, oh yeah, little Johnny's on the way, and like it's not just the teaching, how you talk. It's they sort of get into your life a little bit, they want, like if they find out, oh your wife's pregnant, oh congratulations, they all come up to you, oh we found the news, and the news just bang travels in the school, so and sort of like it's good, you walk through school and kids will ask you, what's happening, and how's your wife? She's 7 months. How much? They keep a track of things. So it's pretty amazing. I mean,
so it's relationships, isn't it?
Definitely, and that's what schools are all about. I mean, that's the biggest thing, building relationships. That's what, basic education is all about, and that's what we do in this school, is build relationships. And because if you can build relationships, then you can teach.
So, going back to working your father's takeaway.
Yeah.
What did that teach you?
Oh, I think, it taught me sort of like, you really got to work hard. And I mean, like I remember just putting in the little matchboxes, stacking up the matchboxes, and then slowly, as I got older, I wanted to learn how to make, milkshakes and all those kind of things when my dad owned Leo's Cafe. And I would say that, by working, I mean, I didn't really want to work. At first I was against it, but I worked, I had my own pocket money, and, I had to work hard to buy those things that I wanted. I mean, sure, my dad would have helped me out here and there, but definitely, I had to learn to respect things, and that, you can't have everything you want. Sometimes you've got to work hard and save. So, I mean...
What else did it teach you?
What else did it teach me? It taught me... Just trying to go back to those days, because I was so young.
Were you a shy, withdrawn person?
Yeah, I was pretty shy. I mean, it did teach me to sort of come out of my shell a bit. Yeah, I would say work did. you know, it did sort of build more confidence and, you know, like in dealing with customers and people and being able to talk rather than being shy, yeah, definitely.
Which is important with teaching.
Oh, definitely, but I was definitely shy when I first started. I mean, I remember the first class that I came then when I was prac teaching, you know, like there was time I didn't really want to be there. Like I said, you know, early on there was hurdles, you know, and I remember waking up one morning thinking, I've got to take 5 lessons on today, you know. I was just a prac teacher, you know, thinking, I don't want to do this, you know. I mean, although I wanted to become a teacher, I wanted to get it the easy way, you know, but there's no easy way. So, you know, I basically, there was one teacher who actually played a big role in sort of me continuing on. That sort of had a half-hearted sort of attitude because, you know, I enjoyed sort of going out and, you know, a lot of my friends were working and I was thinking, you know, here I am still at uni, you know. So, yeah, basically there was a turning point there, okay, and I even went to Greece, you know, and had a word to my dad, you know, when he was living there, just for 2 months, catch up with the family because they were there for a while, and basically came back and just put my head down, and that, I would say that was the biggest turning point in my life. I mean, it could have been a, you know, a make and a break, and I haven't looked back really. I mean, you know, like it was that time I went to a class and I said, oh, I don't want to, rang up and said, I don't want to be there, you know, I don't want to, I'm sick today, you know. So this teacher was a really good teacher and he basically said to me, oh, so tell me, John, honestly, were you sick? Or, you know, were you a little bit sort of like, you know, how you're talking about, you know, being not confident completely, because it was a big thing teaching in front of a whole class, especially, you know, like year 9s or year 10 students. And I basically said to the truth to him, I said, look, I'm at a point where I do enjoy teaching, but I don't know what I want, you know, I was young, 20, you know. He goes, all right, I want you to go home, think about it, come back and see me tomorrow, whenever, and let me know what you want to do. And if you want to become a teacher, I'll help you out. And this was the time, you know, like also when I got back from Greece and all that kind of stuff, you know, went back to him and I said, yep. I had a really good think about it, you know, thought about it, thought what my dad would think and all that kind of stuff, and just weighed up the whole thing. And, you know, I was working at Cold Seas and, you know, that was an easy job. That was pretty hard, lifting boxes and you know, like in the fridges and all that, those kind of things, and just looking at the opportunities, and sort of it was a crossroad in my life and I had to really think hard. And basically just said, nah, this is what I want to become, you know. I could sort of, I had my dad's advice and I had, you know, this teacher who was a really good teacher, Ron McDowell, who helped me. And basically I went back to him and said, yeah, look, I want to become a teacher. And I never looked back. Never looked back. I mean, from there it's just grown from one strength to another.
Were you the first-born, Canberra-born Greek teacher?
No, I don't think so. No, I'm not. Because I know there was a teacher when I was in Lanyon High called Mr. Stomo. Christos Stomo, I think his name was. Christos Stomo, something like that. Phil Stomo, I think his name was. Yeah, no, he was a Greek teacher, definitely. And there's a lot of others. Yeah, there was a lot.
Was
Sokochinos. No, well, he's older than me. He went to Zignadu and he became a teacher, but we hanged around. So, I mean, all these people, yeah, you know, looking, and there was also another person called, well, her name's Nola Zorzi, and she became a teacher too at Zignadu. She teaches. And then there's my wife, and I know there's Debbie Katsanavakis that I taught with at Choral. We work together. So there's a lot. There's not just, you know, and there's more. There's actually there's a lady who's Evelyn Karapanos, who works at Choral, who's, you know, older than I am. So no, I wasn't the first.
The Hellenic Club and this project for the youth, do you think it's important?
I do.
Why?
Well, it's important because it's good to sort of, you know, just demonstrate how different Australian Greeks have been able to move on and integrate within the Australian community, and also to play a role model for other Australian Greeks. I think it's very, very important, and it also highlights how our parents were very, very important part of that process. Huge part.
Do you think the Lanyon Club should do these sort of things more often?
I definitely do.
What things do you think they should do?
I think they do a lot. I mean, like for example, they, like with the associations, they hire out the room. They have a Hellenic Youth Committee Association, which is really good. They do, they used to do music and lights, and they do all sorts of things and organise things for the youth. And they're involved also with the soccer. I know that they've been involved with the Olympic Soccer Club and how they merged and all that kind of stuff. So they do a lot, and with these projects, and with the lighting of the flame, and with all the extension that they're doing and becoming bigger, and being able to support the community like the Yeroko meal, and the Greek community in whole, they do a lot. So I'm sure and what they're doing now, videotaping Australian Greeks telling their story. These are all things that basically put a mosaic together, the jigsaw puzzle. So, and I mean, I'm sure they could do more. I mean, I like to see them, this is probably from a different perspective, but I like to see them support the associations a little bit, like, we support back and vice versa, but support in respect so that we can fundraise a bit more, maybe cut a few more costs a little bit so that we can actually hold dancers and, make a reasonable profit so that these profits can go back to the community somehow, rather than sort of hold a dance and sort of you're trying to, you're holding a dance of 200 people and you might make, a couple $100, depending, That's all. I mean, but really, I think it's, it's a lot of people when they talk about Hellenic Club, they talk very proud of it. I mean, I am. I'm a life member, and and all people that I talk to, it's one of the biggest clubs, biggest Greek club. So we're doing something right. So I'll leave it at that, I think.
One more thing before you do. Soccer. Soccer been important to you? Sport been important?
Oh, definitely. Soccer's been a huge part. I played soccer from 7 years old with Olympic, and I played until about 27, 28. And then I continued on with a few different clubs, but definitely, like I played for Olympic for 20 years.
What did you get out of soccer?
What did I
get out of soccer?
Oh, a lot, self-esteem, keeping fit, making friends, just a whole array of things. And just a passion, I had a passion for soccer. Just, put me on a soccer field and I loved it. And I played with a lot of great players, and I'm still playing, I'm still playing state forward, but just enjoying it. So, it's great.
And coaching?
Coaching, I've got a level 2 coaching. I coached the kids here. I mean, I was able to transfer that over and, win championships, with the school level. And but I do see myself maybe one day coaching, because I've got a level 2 coaching diploma, and but I don't know when. But that's later on, somewhere, in train. Right now, I'm concentrating on my teaching because I'm pretty busy. Like I've moved from a level 1 to an executive position where I'm in charge of staff. So that keeps me busy, very, very busy.
Do you enjoy being in charge of staff? Or do you prefer it?
Well, it's more managing. It's managing staff and being able to, give them, PD, professional development courses, and just running the staff and the budget, and basically the whole school, with a curriculum bank. And I'm in charge of the maths, science, PE, and health curriculum bank within the school, with another level 2, another executive. So really, I mean, you're sort of in between. You're in between the principal, giving you jobs, and then you've got to also keep, the body of teachers that you work with happy too. So it's a hard job, and you've got to be in charge of finding teachers, and in charge of making the curriculum interesting and making sure that the teachers are able to deliver the curriculum.
7 years, where are you going to be?
I think I would just be teaching and enjoying teaching, but with the focus of enjoying my family. That's my focus, like I said. I think, been married for 5 years now, and got a baby due December, and that's my focus, really, and that's what really drives me. I mean, if you talk about passion, I mean, there's times that, like this job can get real stressful, like, just like how I told you when organising these kind of things, and And, you know, what drives me is when I think about, you know, my wife and, you know, and the future. So that would be my greatest passion. And I think that's what it's all about.
Well done. Thank you very much. We're 10 seconds left.
Is that it?
Yep.
All right, it's good. That was easy.
You're finally good.
That was good, mate. Yeah, it was pretty easy.
That was it.
No, it wasn't bad.
Time for